All right, we are live. Hopefully you can hear that in the background. There we are. Now, if your memory is still working, you might remember this guy. Let me pick my screen here. There we go. $6.30. You might remember this guy from quite a ways back. I think this was late January when I got this. And I've been playing around with it ever since. I got a actual movement for it and rebuilt it, rehabilitated it, got her all put back together and running. And if you can, let me get this off of the screen. But I paid $10 for it. It's pretty scroungy. It actually most of that stuff scraped off real good and a little sanding. Got it back down to bare metal. And I rehabilitated it from there. And I'll show you that in a little while. We'll let things tick along here a little bit. Hopefully Melanie Matson will show up tonight. Melanie from SoCal, if you're watching, go ahead and say something. If not, well, we'll deal with that in a little bit. Now, let's see, who all is here tonight? Got a bunch of the usual folks here. Billy Lee, she's here. Hopefully I'll get to work on your pan soon. I know it's been a little longer turnaround than I usually manage, but there have been other things going on. I should be able to get her done pretty soon, though, hopefully in the coming week or so. Fuzz is here. Good to see you. He misses his first wife every payday. Cynthia Wesley's here. Raymond. Let's see, Raymond. Jim's here. Cowgirl Jewel, good to see you. She was here early. I'll get here early. All the best seats go fast. Pat Z. Everybody saying hi to everybody. I said hi to Fuzzy, I think. Dan's here. Ronald Coward. He'll be lurking around. He's got a Sasquatch flu going. RT Scott, good to see you. Fuzzy, Cynthia again, Dan. Cynthia's got another 14 BSR Red Mountain soaking. Those are always nice. Let's see. Whoop, right here. Texas Left Ridge, he's here. Rusty Iron, nice to see you. Jim Glathar, almost caught back up. Corey Clark, nice to see you. Mark Collins, hey, good to see you. Old man with the pan, first time in. Well, it's nice to see a newcomer. Do a little bit of iron tonight and a little bit of things ticking away in the background. Dan's here. Eileen Ebony, good to see you. David Dykes, yeah, you got your griddle. I see the tracking numbers shows that it showed up. Hopefully you like it. Should be a good user for you. Got an ARC logo raised number 7. Ah, cool. It's always nice to get some of the old Lodge. You know, the ARC logo ones usually go for pretty good money, you see on auction sites. And the prices are kind of all over. You know, they're not always consistent. You know, sometimes you get them pretty cheap, and sometimes they go pretty high. I see a fair number of 7s, but they don't seem that common. So if you got a decent price on it, you definitely got a deal. But anyhow, like I said, hopefully you remember that nasty old clock that I got a while back. Got her all cleaned up and running. You should be able to hear it ticking. And I think it turned out pretty good. I'm going to zoom in on it here. I got to count. There's 30 little clicks to the button to get maximum zoom to. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. One more and we'll go back. Let me get that one zoomed in a little bit here. And I'll open the door so you got a little less glare there so you can see. That is it's an Ansonia clock from the 1880s, 1890s, actually, according to what I can figure out about it. The movement certainly is. and that's a open escapement movement. You should be able to see the little escapement wheel ticking by slowly, and there's a kind of anchor shaped thing that rocks back and forth and runs that. The hands on it, I found some hands are the style that I wanted. They call them Maltese hands. They got kind of a little Maltese cross on the end of the hands. They're the right length, but they were a lot thinner and finer than they actually looked like in the pictures. Hopefully I'll be able to find something a little bit heavier so they're a little easier to see. I mean, you can see them, but they're a little thin and spindly. But I had to go through the tear the movement all apart, clean that up, and put new bushings in it because it was getting fairly worn. And got everything all rebuilt, put back together, cleaned up, painted up, and I think it looks damn nice. If you listen close, the beat isn't quite perfect on it. It's because it isn't sitting quite perfectly level. Once I decide where I'm going to put it, I'll get everything leveled up and squared up in there. And I'm trying to get the speed regulated on it. There's two ways of doing it. The pendulum is threaded, so you can run the weight of the pendulum up and down, and that's your coarse adjustment. And your fine adjustment, most of them have a little knob up there that you turn with the clock key, and that will run the whole pendulum hanger up and down a little bit. The problem with this is it's missing a piece, and it has kind of a wedge type of deal that wedges the hanger for the pendulum up and down. Apparently that's pretty uncommon, quite old style. Most of all the other Ansonia clock movements I can find have a screw mechanism. There's a couple of gears that run a screw, and the screw runs the pendulum hanger up and down. Now I can fabricate the part fairly easy. The problem is this is an old non-standard thread, and on the end of this rod it goes through the movement and it threads into that wedge part, and that moves it back and forth, which moves the pendulum up and down. I gotta try and find something that has the right tap so I can cut the right threads in the piece that I can make for it, and I haven't been able to find a tap for that yet. Should be able to get it one of these days, but that's not terribly big project. It keeps fairly good time. Like I said, I can do the coarse adjustment, and I had it dialed in to where it was running just a little bit slow. It'd lose about a minute every 2 days, but like I said, I don't have the fine adjustment. The poor cat is stuck doing the wind up on that old clock. Well, I'm sure she'll come to love it. I've got another old mantle clock around here that we've had for quite a while, and that's all there. You know, this here I had to get a lot of parts for it and pieces and whatnot to get it all put back together. But the other one ran until recently, probably just needs to be taken apart and cleaned and re-oiled. So that should last for a good long time before it needs any further servicing. But yeah, I think that turned out pretty damn good, considering what we started with. I'll show you that one more time. Share my screen. Sandhill cranes right up front, raising hell. Yeah, that's allow that. That's what it started off as, so I think it turned out pretty nice. Anyway, like I said, I was hoping Melanie would show up, and I'll tease that a little bit more. We'll get around to that later on. Love manual movements of clocks. That one looks amazing. Can't believe you're an horologist too. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I did manage to get this one going again, and got a couple ideas I'd like to try out. You know, I'll get some, you can usually get old mechanical movements fairly inexpensive. You know, get a bunch of them that are not working and managed to revitalize them. Yeah, I did that. Turned out pretty good. There's sandhills in Nebraska. Yeah, there's quite a few around here too, especially in the spring. There's a big swamp kind of to the northwest of me, maybe a half a mile away. Great big, probably 40, 50 acre wetland. And let me get rid of this screen again here. And one more click and I should be back. Oh, I could have got a couple close. There we are. Back to the normal zoom on that. There's a big swamp to the northwest of me, and in the spring when they're first moving in, it's just nuts. I mean, you can hear them. There must be several hundred of them kind of stop off there before they start scattering out. And yeah, they're just loud as hell, even that far away. The details really popped out. Yeah, it turned out, I mean, you can see them a little bit before I did anything with it. It turned out that those are actually cast into the iron. They're incised, so it wasn't too difficult to redo the lines. It wasn't like, just trying to replicate lines on smooth, flat iron again. You like the ticking, it's soothing even. Yeah, and this style of movement with that open escapement is a little bit louder than most clocks because, the part that actually ticks is out in the front of the clock and it's exposed. So, thought you were talking about Tempus Fugit, the drink. Yeah. Anyway, let me slide this back a little bit. So I got some, get my foot down here. I'm going to slide this back a little bit. Hopefully it'll stay running because this ain't real level. And that's a big thing with a mechanical clock. It has to be level so the pendulum has an equal swing both directions. We'll try. May or may not stay running. The other thing I was going to show you, used to be a lot more fun being a kid. Toys were a lot better. I cleaned up that little toy stove I got. I just went through it with steel wool. And it's going to be level enough to stay running. But I cleaned her up a little bit with steel wool, and everything was nickel plated, so it came out pretty good. I just lightly went over the painted part and gave that a light coat of oil after I hit it with an SOS pad. Like I said, there should be a back on this and a door on that, but these are really cool. That burner in there is actually a burner. It does work. And I will show you that. I want to tighten down these little hinges on the door, but there's a pin that goes to the top and then there's a rivet in the middle. And those rivets are the hardest. Well, come on, you. It latches good. Stay put. And those are the hardest damn rivets I've ever seen. I tried beating them over with a punch and a hammer, and they just would not. They just wouldn't tighten up. And I didn't want to go beating on them too hard and end up breaking those little hinges, so I just quit. But I have here a tank of propane, a propane torch with where to go, with the burner part taken off, but it still has the orifice in there. So I'll put that on there. And get my hose out. Should be long enough to reach down. I don't think that gasket's really good on that old torch anymore, so I won't let her run too long. But I'll slide that on there. Already got her connected there. turn the gas on, and I should be able to light that. Ain't that cool? Bring her over a little closer here so you can see the flames, but you've got actual fire on that cook stove. I haven't cleaned up the little pots that go with it yet, and I don't want to burn it too long and overheat anything. But there you go, an actual flaming toy stove. Turn the gas off here. Make sure that's off. But that is just too damn cool. It's so cute yet dangerous. Yeah, like I say, it used to be a lot more fun being a kid, and you got to weed out the dumb ones young. So society as a whole was a lot better off. Put that aside. There we go. But yeah, that little burner, it's going to drive me nuts. That little burner in there actually burns, which is just too damn cool. And that little side thing there hangs off of there. But yeah, that is just a neat thing. Paid $40 for that. And like I said, it would have been nice if it had, there should be a little back piece here and a door on this little side oven. I saw a couple of them looking around on the internet. There's one that it doesn't have the little oven thing on the side, and it doesn't have the side tray, but it does have the back. And then there's one that was just a one burner, little small one. And let me see here, put my glasses on. And I can actually see the name on the bottom of it now. So take that out so it don't fall off when I flip it. And we'll flip them over that way. There's a patent date of November 9th, 1915. Can't quite see that. And it's Kenton brand, USA. And that's who made that way back when. And I guess they made these up until the 20s. There's also an electric version of these that has an electric heating coil in there instead of the little gas burner. But yeah, that's like I said, it used to be a lot more fun being a kid. They got rid of actual fire on a toy stove and did away with lawn darts. Lawn darts ought to make a comeback because, I mean, we have a constitutional right to own firearms. God damn it, we should have lawn darts too. Easy bake oven, eat your heart out. Yeah, well, those are so damn much fun. Like I said, the pots and pans that came with it were a bit nicer than most of the the newer toy ones you see. I gotta clean those up yet, and I'll show you them eventually. Gas for a kid's toy, yeah. And I think that's more size for natural gas. Seems to get a little bit too much gas on the propane, but it ain't too bad. Yeah, Rusty, I'll probably be able to find the die for it. It's a number 3 size machine screw, but it's about a number 40 thread, either a 40 or between 40 and 50. 40 on the little thread gauge thing seems to work pretty good. But all the number 3 machine screws you can find now, they're like I think they're like a 58. That's the size is right, but it's hard to find the right thread. And like I said, the movement's from the 1890s, so it's before things were really standardized too. So it's probably tough to find. Some jewelers, they call them screw plates. You can find a die that'll, for jewelers and watchmakers and things like that. That'll probably have something like that. But yeah, I'll find something eventually, I'm sure. Really way past cool. Yeah, I mean, that's just too damn neat, having that actual burner on that stove. Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Yeah, you could have a little bit of a leaky thing going for you. Society got away from common sense and silliness took over. I think with this, it was meant you would have like a rubber hose, and a lot of houses had gas lights, and you know the regular gas lights, and you would hook onto one of those and use that. Still have two sets of darts to use all summer long. Yeah, I'd like to get them, but I've seen them sell at auctions now and then, and they usually end up selling for anywhere from 50 to $100 for a set of them. Depends if they're still in the box and if they got the little plastic tube you made the target out of. But maybe one of these days I'll have to fire up a metal lathe. We got one at work. Once you get it back together, might have to just make some ones of my own, and I'll make them a little extra heavy and extra pointy too while I'm at it, just because all the good toys were removed due to injuries. Yeah, common sense should make a comeback. I mean, don't try and catch heavy steel pointy things. So, if you learn that young, you'll be a lot better off. Yeah, don't stand in a full bathtub drinking propane while running a blow dryer. Yeah, you have the plastic targets. Yeah, I mean, if it's in the original box and the box is in good shape and it's got the little target rings and the full set of darts, I've seen them go for around $100. So eventually I might find a decent deal on some, but I will have lawn darts eventually. Cell phones and computers took over the kids' pea brains. Yeah, and kids eating Tide Pods. Yeah, if you got to be told not to eat laundry detergent and set yourself on fire because you saw it on TikTok, your gene pool is probably better off without you. But anyway, Melanie, late as usual, but I have been waiting just for you. You said you wanted a round griddle. Been looking for one, can't find a decent one. I'm going to give you a choice of two. Just send me your address on at themudbrooker@yahoo.com. Send me an address, Melanie, and you can have one of these two. This here is a little gate marked skillet. Ain't sure if it's SLS or 808 or what the little numbers on the back. Got a little bit of sulfur pitting on the back, but the front is nice. You can see it's got some nice swirl marks on it, and you see the little casting flaws that you always get on gate mark pieces. But that's a nice little fancy handled gate mark skillet or griddle. Or if you prefer, you can have an 11.5 inch. This is a Wagwald. It's a Griswold branded griddle, but these are made by Wagner. That's a Wagner style pattern. Little casting flaw there. But anytime you see something that says Griswold and has made in the USA and the name of whatever it is on the back, that was a Griswold made by Wagner at the Wagner plant, and they usually use Wagner patterns. But anyway, you can take your pick. You can have this Wagwald 11.5 inch, or you can have this light little gate marked. I'd say it's probably about a 10 inch. This is 11.25 and a little bit smaller. Hold them up there. But take your pick. Get one picked out. Let me know here in the comments. And I'll send you one. Love those gate mark pans. Use yours a lot. Yeah, they're nice and light. They cook great. And you can't beat them. Used a hula hoop about 30 yards away and threw them as hard as possible. Yeah, you betcha. Makes a good target for your lawn darts. Use sticks for guns and bows and arrows. Oh, yeah. Being playing with sticks. You can use a stick for damn near anything. Take the larger pan. Size matters. But yeah, Melanie, I'll send you a round griddle. I mean, take your pick here and put it in the comments which one you want. You were a bit late. You didn't get to see maybe I'll fire that up again here in a little while just to show everybody again the flaming flaming grill, and that hook works good, but those hinges want to flex out and it lets it drop down and it opens up. You'll take the larger one? Okay. This one here is still floating around. Might give that away someday, do something with it. But yeah, that's the bigger one, 11 1/4 inch, Wagner made Griswold. Oh, I'll fire up the little oven here again in a minute just for the hell of it, because it is too damn cool. But yeah, we'll send you that one there once you get me an address sent. And should like it. Yeah, you can see that one there's got some nice swirlies too. It's been stripped, but I haven't done anything else with it. You see there's a little bit of surface rust, but just take an SOS pad, give it a scrubbing with that. That'll get rid of that, and season it up from there, and you're in the griddle business. All right, let me get these out of my way. Put them down there. Yeah, I'll relight the stove here just for the hell of it. Put the torch back together. You have a Wagwald number 4. Yeah, they're a lot of people don't think real highly of them. The quality kind of did fall off during that period, so they're not quite as good as either the older Wagner or the older Griswold were, but they're still pretty damn good skillets. You're not losing anything by having one. Let me see here. I got that on, and see, turn that on. Get the gas going. There we go. Got the fire lit. Move her over here so you can see the fire going. But yeah, the burner actually works on that little stove. That is just too damn cool. I don't want to run it too long and heat up the grills on them too much. So I'll shut her back off. But yeah, you don't often see things like that anymore where you got actual fire on a kid's toy. But I'll hang this. That hangs back on the side. And I'll take the torch back apart. 14, you got a 22 pellet through the ear. Yeah, playing tag with firearms. I will neither confirm nor deny that we used to hide behind trees and shoot at each other. Make a tiny pancake on it. Yeah, I've got some little tiny pans for that. I might have to do that one of these days just for shits and giggles. Wagner didn't really start falling off until after 69. Yeah, a little bit, they did fall off in the late 60s, but once you got into the 70s and once GHC took them over, General Housewares, they really took a nosedive in the quality. See a lot of those that are really rough as hell, just rough and nasty. You like Wagwald? Not so sure why it isn't popular. Yeah, I mean it ain't as bad. I mean the Griswold logos on a lot of them are kind of wonky. So yeah, I can see where a lot of people would think they're fake. But because Griswold, they got rid of a lot of the original Griswold patterns when they merged the two companies. So Wagner had to kind of recreate the Griswold logo, and they didn't get it quite right. So you see a lot of them that they're kind of odd looking. But yeah, they're genuine. Do you have the wee cast iron pans for the stove? Yeah, I do. I don't have them handy. I got to clean them up a little bit. And I have some other ones. I have a couple other little toy stoves, but they're just toys. They don't have an actual burner on them. And there were some of them that were you could actually burn wood in them, little bits of wood or little bits of coal. I think Favorite made one that was a mini stove, and those are worth a fortune if you find one in nice shape. But there were some that were actual functional wood burning stoves too. When you get the little pans cleaned up, need to cook a tiny burger or something, that'd be so cool. Yeah, I might. I'm a little bit leery of, I don't want to, burn the nickel plating off of the grills, but I think I can probably cook something, something that'd cook fast. I could drill the rivets out and put new ones in. Yeah, I could, but I don't really want to mess with it any more than I have to as far as originality goes. But yeah, those are I don't know what the hell they made those rivets out of, but they're just hard as hell. And I didn't want to go beating on it too hard, and because those are pretty thin cast iron hinges on there, I didn't want to run the risk of beating those. But if I did, I'd definitely use like a brass or copper rivet, something a good bit softer in there. No longer listening to river or stream music. It makes you pee. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Super glue the hinges. I might. Yeah, I probably could. They're attached good. They're not going to fall off or anything like that. It's just that they move. So yeah, a couple of drops of super glue under there might be the answer for those. And I'll have to keep an eye out, and maybe someday I'll find another one that's good for parts. Find a door for that and a back for it. But yeah, that's definitely a cool little stove. I'm tickled to death that I got that. Could cook a mini burger for the cat. I could. Don't know where she is. She's around here somewhere, but it's kind of nice to don't have her creating too much chaos for a change. Only listen to it in the restroom. Yeah, you could have stream music ambiance for the Muzak in your bathroom. It's too bad. I think I'll move this. See if I can get my clock going and move this down here. Move the clock back forward, and you can hear it chime when it gets to the right time. Or actually, I got to reset it anyway. It's 7 o'clock now. But once I get this there we go. Ticking again. Took right off. It's always nice when they take right off like that. Been a very cold, rainy, windy day in Ohio. Yeah, that came through here. One of those nice spring days with a cold rain and a big wind and dark and damp and dreary. It's cleared out now, but it's going to get colder tonight. Yeah, we'll run this ahead to 7 o'clock because it's 7:03. There we go. I did have a problem with this. I got it running fairly good, but the catch that stops the wheel that makes it chime wasn't catching right. I had to do a little straightening and replacing some bushings on the arm that controlled all that, and finally got that so it was hitting right and catching properly like it should. Because sometimes it get to like 6 o'clock and it would just keep running. It would chime 12, and then the next one would be, it would strike 2, and then it would strike 5. Then it'd strike like it should for a while, and then it would start screwing up again. So I got that straightened out, and it actually strikes the right time every time. So sound of cast iron hitting each other. Yeah, I had to find the gong for it too, and of course, it was a little bit different than most of the ones you find for it. So that's been kind of a chore finding the right parts for that, but it did definitely turn out good. So I'm tickled to death with the way it's turned out. Painted it up with nice black lacquer, and of course I chipped it in a couple of spots, handling it around. So have your great grandma's 100-year-old kitchen clock, and you love the tick-tock. Wind it every 7 days. Yeah, this is a probably an 8-day clock. You gotta let it run for a week or so, and it didn't run entirely down, but it's getting to where it took a good bit of winding to get it wound back up. So most of them are 8-day, either 30-hour or 8-day clocks. Some of them you have to wind every day. Gonna have a little bourbon here while we're waiting. But it was a lot of fun going through that. I mean, if you're mechanically inclined at all, working on a clock is really fun. Some fairly small precision stuff, but it's not nearly as difficult and complex as you think it was. Once you got it apart, you might have to mark some stuff to make sure you get everything back together. But once you figure out how it actually works, it's pretty easy to take apart and put back together once you do it a couple of times. And you will do it several times on something like this where you're putting new bushings in because you want to get everything lined up and make sure it's working right. Does it ding on the quarter and half hour? Just the half hour and hour. It doesn't ding on the quarters. The ticking clock is like ASMR. Yeah, I like the ticking. And like I said, that's a little bit louder tick than most other mechanical clocks because the escapement is exposed right out in the front, and so the part that ticks a little bit louder because it ain't buried inside. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to cover this week. I'm going to show you the little stove and the get Melanie finally get her a round griddle. She's been looking for one for ages. But yeah, it keeps pretty good time. Runs pretty consistent once you get it leveled up. I've had it running for probably a couple of weeks, week and a half anyway, just to dink around getting the pendulum set as close as I could. There are ways where you can use a metronome and get the beat right. Wouldn't be safe to carry that clock in an airport. Yeah, they might wonder about that. Stretched out on the sofa, so sleepy. Well, get you some rest. I think if you're showing the tiny stove, yeah, I thought that was just too damn cool. Having an actual working stove like that. Maybe someday I'll find one of the actual wood burning ones too. That'd be pretty cool, I think. You do see a lot of them around that are, actually they're just toys, but they look like a wood burning stove. They usually come with little tiny cookware for them, but they're just empty inside. You can't actually build a fire in one of them. Wish all clocks were made that way. No batteries, no electric. Too late to nap, you'll be up all night. Well, I took a nap this afternoon, slept good, but I must have slept with my head spun around backwards like in The Exorcist because I woke up and my neck was just sore as hell. It's getting better though. Rubbed a little horse liniment on it. That kind of settled her down. Yeah, I like mechanical clocks too. There's a lot of wristwatch restoration videos on YouTube. There's one wristwatch revival. He's pretty good. And you watch him tear apart these old wristwatches and get them working again. And it's the same principle, mechanically as this pretty much. Some of them do get a lot more complex where you have a self-winding with a calendar and day and chronograph and all that. It can get to be pretty intricate, but it's still basically the same. The same principles apply. And I don't know if I want to go quite that far because you need a bit more specialized equipment and tools for something that small, and it's just too damn small for me. To have an anniversary clock with the glass cover has to be perfectly level. Yeah, with this, the if you try and level it with the case, the movement isn't quite perfectly square and straight inside the case. So you actually have to level it more by ear. You can hear, like right now, it's a pretty even beat both ways. The tick and the tock are the same time, and you'll be able to hear if it's sitting a little bit off level because it'll be a longer tick to one side than the other. That guy, let's see, Old Man, I think is the channel. Yeah, I haven't seen him. There's one guy, my hobbies aren't cheap, or my hobbies are expensive. He does wristwatch and pocket watch rebuilds, and so does the like I said, wristwatch revival. There's a bunch of them around, and like I said, it's pretty interesting to watch. But like I say, you definitely need a lot more specialized, tiny equipment for doing watches than you do for doing clocks. I mean, you can get away fairly easy with you do definitely need some specialty tools for that sort of thing, but you can get away pretty easy. Your only mantle clock is a JLC Atmos that winds itself up, compresses and expands, gas that compresses and expands. I've heard of them. I haven't. I've probably seen them, but I don't remember ever seeing them. Use horse liniment too. Works for Triple Crown winners. Or should work for you. Yeah, that's. I mean, over the years, I've pretty much adjusted all the other liniments and balms, but the horse liniment still works pretty good. Absorbine veterinary liniment. Old Man Speaks collects old stuff, lanterns, cast iron clocks. I might have to check them out. Sounds like a pretty cool channel. Have a Rolex that needs to be fixed, said I wouldn't get it back for a year or more. I might, especially if you're sending it in for actual factory repairs. Like I said, I can definitely see the appeal to playing around with old clocks. And I got the other one that I need to clean up and oil. But got a couple ideas. It's something I'd like to try and do. I get a little bit more experience at clock building. Got a cool idea, but whether or not I can actually pull it off yet, I don't know. 5 or 6 clocks in the house might drive you nuts after a while. Yeah, because you're never going to get them quite perfectly in sync either, so they're all going to be just that little bit off. That'd probably drive you nuts after a while. here. William tired from work today? He might be. I had to work last night, but I'm off tonight, so being an off night, I can actually have a glass of bourbon along with the show. No ticking clock is soothing to me. Yeah, one or two would be okay, but if you had a whole room full of them, it'd probably get to be a bit much after a while. This is wonderful. Between Bill's heart attack and your best girlfriend in the hospital, you can't keep your eyes open. Well, you go ahead and get yourself some rest if you can. A Coleman lantern with the insides of an old clock might be interesting. Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can stick a clock movement into, especially the little battery powered quartz ones. They're real easy to, pop that into just about anything you want to turn into a clock. But yeah, I think the mechanical ones are way cooler. The more it ticks, the heavier your eyes are getting. Yeah, hypnotizing my audience with the ticking clock. God, probably hypnotize me while they're at it. Yeah, you go ahead and get yourself some rest, Billy Lee. Like I said, hopefully I'll be able to get your pan done soon. I've had things like this consuming my time and a lot of other things too besides, so waiting for the alarms to go off like the Dark Side of the Moon album. Don't sleep through your giveaway? Well, try not to. Thank you. I love it. No, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it was a lot of fun doing that. A lot of playing around and painting. I actually got pretty good with a spray can of lacquer. I decided to use lacquer on it because that's pretty much what they used on it anyway. And you get a different kind of finish than you do with enamels. But lacquer is really, really tricky. It takes a bit of practice to get it right because it's real thin, and trying to get it on a vertical surface is real tough. I don't know how the hell the old car painters did it back when everything was a lacquer finish for car paints, but yeah, it's definitely a bit different than painting something with an enamel. But you get a different, even a high gloss enamel doesn't quite have the same shine to it that the lacquer does. It really wants to orange peel and texture on you, and sometimes you put it on and it looks a little rough and bumpy and it'll smooth out and flatten out on its own. And sometimes it just orange peels all to hell. There's one part of this I had to sand down a couple of times to get it to get it right. But now I know how to paint with lacquer, so that was kind of fun. Such a fun channel to watch, sweet people and sweet things to see. Yeah, I mean, it's the people that make it worthwhile. If it was just me here blathering on without any kind of interaction for an hour, you'd probably get pretty dull pretty quick. So, the conversation in the chat is probably 3/4 of the show. So the more of you show up, the better the show is going to be. And don't ever be afraid to ask questions or, share information you got. If I don't know the answer, somebody in the chat certainly will. And, there's no dumb questions. Well, yeah, there are dumb questions, but we ain't going to treat you like you're an idiot just because you don't know something or you haven't learned or just plain wondering about something. There's tons of stuff that I don't know and try not to be afraid to ask. Like I say, nobody's gonna point and laugh if you ask something that you don't know, and everybody. Yeah, after a while, things get to be kind of common knowledge, and you seem to think, well, everybody should know that. Well, no, I mean most people don't because they haven't. They're new to cast iron or something like that. They never really dealt with it before, and they're trying to find out. So go ahead and feel free to ask whatever you feel free to ask, or leave a smart ass comment if you're a smart ass, which most of the people around here are, so that definitely keeps it entertaining. Got you wanting to go back to Monroe and steal your Moz clock your sister don't care about no sound but that of a slot machine. Well, you better hurry up. She might end up pawning it to pay her bookie one of these days. Slams the door on it. Treat you like family. Don't Christ no, you want me to treat you better and do family. Slams the door on us and all. Well, yeah, we do that. It sounds like I'm driving around with my blinker on. Yeah, it's like I said, that's a bit louder than most of them. But you got no question whether or not it's running, which is kind of nice. Better be a smart ass than a dumbass. Yes, it is. Hog Wild's going live around 7:45 Central, giving away a polished lodge. Cool. So once we're done here, go ahead and zip on over to his channel and give him a watch. Maybe you'll win yourself a shined up lodge. If you want to sand down your cast iron, you're free to do so. I wouldn't do it on anything old, and I certainly wouldn't do it as a first step to cleaning up something you don't know what it is and you're trying to get it cleaned up to find out what it is. You don't want to, as a general rule, you don't want to do anything that's going to remove iron because you can't put it back on once it's gone. But a lot of people don't like the texture of newer lodges. Got that rough, bumpy, pebbly stuff. It doesn't affect the way it cooks, and it's still a well-seasoned pan, even if it's rough like that, isn't going to stick. And if you use it right, it's a lot less likely to stick. Hiccup. Hiccup and a burp at the same time. Ugh. Okay, better. But a lot of people still don't like the rougher surface, and they like to sand down newer lodges. And that's fine. It's your cast iron. Do what you want to with it. But you don't need to polish it to a mirror finish. I mean, all that's going to do is make it tough to season. I find that usually just taking a 50 grit sandpaper on an orbital sander, just enough to smooth it off, knock the high spots off. Even if it isn't perfectly flat, it'll definitely smooth it up a hell of a lot more, and you'll still be able to season it. So it was wanted a lot. You want it online. But yeah, I mean, if you take something to a real mirror finish, it looks cool, but they get tough to season. You got to have a little bit of texture to them. Watch out. Your good luck finally seems to be coming back. Yeah, Cynthia might end up winning it. She's good at that sort of thing. Rough surface cooks just as quick as one that's smooth. Yeah, and stuff doesn't stick to them either, usually. Once in a while, you get a really bad, cheap imported pan. It's made out of bad iron. It's got a real coarse, sandpapery surface. Those can be tough to get seasoned to, those can be tough to get to where they're not going to stick every damn time. But generally, no. I mean, the surface on a Lodge, that cooks just as good as the surface on a vintage Griswold. Really, mirror finish probably just rust on a high humidity summer day. I might, because like I say, it's real hard to get it to take a good seasoning. So, if it ain't seasoned good, yeah, it'll definitely rust. Glad you're getting lucky again. Your last lucky night was 1969. You might get banned again. Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that you'll get restricted from winning again. You old Cynthia's in charge of winding the clock. Yeah, I might have to find me a professional clock winder to come around and wind my clocks for me. Got to find a good place to put it, where it's out of the way and I can get it sitting nice and level, but it's still easy enough to get at to wind it. And I won't have to turn around and move it again. I mean, I could set it over on the stove for the time being, but I'm going to have to get it off there before I start cooking. Your luck never left you. You can't lose something that you never had. That's true. I get lucky on some of the bigger things now and then, but small things like lottery tickets, no. Never won anything in your life until you won on my channel. I'm glad it could break your streak. I think I've only ever won like one door prize in my life. A door prize, raffle, that sort of thing. I won 10 pounds of rat poison when I was a kid at a horse pull. Being a horse pull, the feed mill and the implement dealer and all that sort of thing put up, door prizes for the horse pull. And they had some cool toy tractors, which I would have really loved to win, but no, I won the rat poison from the feed mill. Been a great prize for your average farmer, but for an 8-year-old kid, it's probably not the best thing. The old man promptly confiscated it because he knew I'd eventually find a use for it otherwise. But yeah, but that's pretty much the only door prize drawing I've ever won. What's the next thing I'm going to cook for you? Not sure. Not sure if I'll be able to squeeze in one more round on the wood stove before it gets too warm out. But gonna cook something. Not really sure. A couple of things I've been thinking of. But I saw Cast Iron Chaos, his stream, where he made the hamburger pot pie in his wok. Might do something like that, where I make I've done it before. They call it railroad pie. It's usually beef, vegetables, a tomato sauce, but you can use different sauces. And then you cover the top of it with a layer of cornmeal batter and bake it up, cook the cornmeal through. Might do something like that in the wok, try and do like a one pot kind of thing with the wok. That'd be pretty slick. But I can do that on the regular stove too. But I really love that wok on the cook stove because it sits down in the fire and just gets screamingly hot. And it really works good like the way a wok should. Putting things on the fireplace mantle, not a good idea because the cat's already claimed that space. Yeah, I got to find like I said, I got to find a decent home for it. I'll get it set up eventually, then get my other clock going up. Get that cleaned up and running again. That should be a little bit easier. That, like I said, it was running. It pretty much just needs a good cleaning. Might need a bushing or two in it. I had to put quite a few. What happens with these? The movement is built out of 2 brass plates, and then you got the little gears on axles in between them. And the ends of the axles, they call it a pivot. Well, they're made of steel, and that'll eventually wear the holes out in the brass plates. And you got to redo then you got to ream the holes out, and you put a brass bushing in there and ream that out so it fits right. And I don't think I'm going to have to do that with the other one, maybe. But like I said, most of the time when a clock doesn't run, it's just because the old oil has gotten gummy and sticky, and it doesn't have enough power to overcome the extra drag, so you got to tear it all apart and clean it. But anyhow, like I said, the clock turned out nice. The little toy stove is cool as hell, and I'll get Melanie send me the address to the mudbrooker@yahoo.com, and I'll send out the bigger wag-walled griddle, and finally have yourself a nice round griddle. Anyhow, it's time to wind this up. We've been at this for a little better than an hour now, so we'll say goodnight. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.